Okay, just a reminder, we are going to have a little top 20 tomorrow. This official day, if you're watching this video, you're probably wanting to get the review for the test that's happening a couple days from now on transforming functions, and we'll get to that. But I'm going to start with just a review of a top 20 skill. Put a couple of these up here. Hopefully you remember how to factor that. That should be a snap. And then this one. Oh, wait. 5x plus. Wait a minute. Nope, that one won't work. How about 6x plus 5? That'll work. I wanted to make it so that something would cancel. And the other ones were factorable, but they weren't going to have anything cancel. This will make something cancel. And then I'd like you to try this one. These are two very powerful things. One, you learn to cancel stuff. Two, you have factoring involved in both of them. And number three, they involve quadratics, which are the most popular function we use in this class. So it's really good if you can get this down. I'm going to pause. We give these a try. All right, you're doing it right. Keep going. X minus 5, x plus 5. Doesn't matter which order, so I've reversed it. And then? Now, how do you know you're right on that one? A lot of people aren't so good at that kind of factoring. How could you know you're right? Yeah. Multiply it out. You go x times x makes x squared, and then the outside makes 5x, inside makes 1x. That's a total of 6x, and the last 1 times 5 is 5. So you have done it perfectly, and now it's pretty obvious, I hope, what to do. What do you think? Correct. Final answer? X minus 5 over x plus 1. Raise your hand if you had that one right. Excellent. And now the other part. This is harder because it involves three major skills. Number one is, do you know how to simplify that? A lot of kids know that, well, there's a 3 involved somehow. So I don't know, 3 root, I don't know what to do. So you go 2 square roots. What are the 2 square roots you should use? And then we'll simplify to the final answer. J. I know it's not J, but I use the initials because I'm recording. And root 9, root 3, and that really means 3 root 3. That's the first skill that's mixed in here. If you don't know that, you'd be stuck. Okay, now that we got that, here's the part that a lot of people can't do. They try to factor this, or first of all, they don't know they should factor it. Okay, that's one problem. Another problem would be they think that when they pull the 3 out to the front, that the other ones, that this 3 just disappears, and you have plus and minus root 3. Oh, I see that all the time. Why is that wrong? How can you prove to them that that's wrong? Because that is not right. Yes? How could you prove to them that this, just to clarify, I know there's an 18 on the bottom, but people think that that's the right answer, and it's not.
Because you would multiply it in.
Yes.
There's no 1 in that position.
Yeah.
It would just be 0.
Yeah, 3 times nothing is nothing, or 0. But we need a 1 there to hold that place. Okay. Now, it's really close. It's just not quite finished yet, because the 18 could be written as 3 times 6, and then the 3's cancel, and there's your answer. 1 plus and minus root 3 all over 6. Any questions? Okay. How many of you got those 2 skills down? Good. Now, that's 2 out of the 20. And there's some really easy ones in there, like adding fractions. There's even just solving equations. Is there any other ones you want to talk about? Because I could take another minute. Is any topic off top 20 that you're afraid you might not get right? Hard one of these kind, or? Okay, I'll make you one that a lot of people don't know. Nobody remembers this one, but it's challenging, and a lot of people don't know how to do it. I'm going to say equals to. How do you solve that? Well, there's a fast way and a slow way. The slow way is to make common denominators and do all kinds of complicated adding and subtracting, and there's a very fast way to fix this. If you know how to clear these fractions, then you'll be able to solve it in 2 more steps, and it'll be super easy. I want to know, what's x equal to? It's a fraction, but start by clearing the fractions. Be honest, how many of you are not sure how to clear the fractions? Be honest. Okay, thank you. Quite a few. So here's the key. Multiplying by 3 is kind of part of it because that will fix that first fraction. Then here's the other thing. You got to remember to multiply everything by 3. And that won't fix the whole problem. That fixes the 3, but it doesn't fix the 7. So you also, at the same time, multiply everything by 7. Isn't that the same as multiplying everything by 21? Yes, except smarter. Because, watch how easy it is to cancel things now. Cancel, cancel. Cancel, cancel. And nothing cancels over there. It's just 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 7 is 42. Here, what do I got left? The 3's are gone, so it's 7 times 2x, 14x. And then that's what's left. 3 times 1, 3. And if you can't solve that one, we got to move you back a class because that's just basic, super easy, regular algebra. And you were in honors higher algebra. So I know you know how to subtract 3 and then divide by 14 and no big deal. So you get the only thing that's hard about this is to multiply everything by the 2 denominators. After that, it's just solving a simple little equation. All right, since a lot of people didn't know how to start that one, and I basically did it, I want to give you one that's similar to it. Solve. I'll pause while you give that one a try. Okay, let's see if you knew what to do. I know to multiply by 5, and I could even do it, and it would make my problem a little better, but it wouldn't fix it all at once. I should also multiply it by 2. And if I do that, I got to do it everywhere, and that's another mistake people make is they forget one of the things, and they don't multiply that by it. But here's what I'm going to use to prove it. If 1 plus 4 is 5, can I just multiply this one by 10 and this one by 10, and is it still true? No, you'd have to multiply them all by 10, and then 10 plus 40 would be 50, and it would still work. You got to multiply everything by something. You can't just pick, like, I'll multiply the first and the last one. You got to include this one too. Okay, that cancels that. 2 times 4 is 8n. That cancels that. 1 times 5 is 5s minus 5. And then 5 times 2 is 10. There we go. I got this one from a calc teacher. He said, please include this because this happens in calc all the time. So if you're making that top 20 thing, include clearing fractions. So I did. And it's now, most of my kids anyway, by the end of the year, get this, and then they go on to calculus and they know how to clear fractions. They get more complicated in calc, of course, but if you know how to clear fractions that are like this, that's a great start. 15/8. Raise your hand if you had 15/8. Awesome. Okay, that's enough on top 20 for now. The rest is in your hands. And if I know that if I took a $100 bill and put it on the table here and said, that $100 bill is for anybody who gets a 19 out of 20 tomorrow, there'd be a lot of people would be like, seriously, he's giving away a $100 bill? I want the $100 bill. I'm going to study really hard and I'm going to get it. And a lot of you would. A lot of you would get the 19 out of 20 tomorrow if this was, first of all, it's a $10 bill. I'm aware of that. But that's how I roll, you know, math teacher. Not exactly like the CEO, but if that were a $100 bill and you were going to get it and you would try really hard for that, then it's just a motivation problem. And you can do it if you were motivated enough. All right. So, go for the 19 tomorrow. It'll make your life so much better from here on out. All right, now I've got this problem I had all queued up and ready to go for this hour. And it starts this way. Yes, question?
You should just say that and then...
So, on this problem, it's giving you the directions in a weird way, but do you get it's telling you to take the butterfly, which looks kind of like that, and do some things to it. Well, first of all, I'd want you to make an equation. I am going to purposely make the wrong equation. That's not the right equation. That's not what I just told you. But you should write an equation kind of like that, that does what this is telling you to do. It's supposed to take this one and flip it the right way and move it and stretch it Okay, so if we write the equation out, then you'll have something to plug in points, and you can get some points that are on it. So if you think, okay, I think it's going to do this, and then I think it's going to move there, and I think it's going to probably end up over here, like looking like that. Well, cool. But you got to get points before you actually get credit. All right, so give it a shot. I'm going to pause for a minute while you give this a try. This is one of the toughest functions. The 1 over x function is tough. In fact, it's so tough that I am okay with you only having 2 points. These 2 points that it starts with, they're the only 2 that are really nice numbers. You can just have those 2 points plus the line that goes through them and gets closer and closer. Kind of like mine. My lines are okay. They're not awesome, but they are getting closer and closer to where the asymptotes would be. That's the other thing you have to have. And it'll say in the directions on the test, you have to have the asymptotes. Set on the table. So I encourage you to have the asymptotes in on your final answer and those 2 points. That's all you have to have. 2 points on your XY chart. I'm going to pause for a minute while you give this a try. Okay, to make sure you're not getting too far lost here, first of all, I'm thinking start on the inside. And if you start on the inside, you're going to make this stretch vertically. Nope, wrong. Horizontally. Seems like it's twice as wide. But do you trust the things on the inside? No, so it's not twice as wide, it's half as wide. So this is how wide it is. Okay, and we make it half that wide. So basically this thing tightens up and gets a little closer to the axis. So that point becomes right there. These are tough because they don't just move like as a group. So anyway, just know it got narrower, but that's really almost imperceptibly narrower. Now I got to go to the outside. And what's that negative mean? It means a flip. That means you could either, on this kind of function, do you remember that it doesn't matter? It doesn't matter if you flip it up, down, or left, right. It still ends up either way. It ends up in these spots. That would actually go back to where it was in the first place. Yep. And then lastly, it's plus 3, which is up 3. Moving that up 3. Moving that up 3. Bottom line, it's the green one, and I can prove it. So I'm going to get rid of all this other stuff. Now, I know I've been a little bit vague on exactly where those points are, and that's okay, because this is the part where I fix that with my XY chart. Now, I'm going to rewrite my function here. It's y equals 1 over x, and then I have a negative in front of the function, a 2 in the function. Notice that's in it. If I was on the outside, it'd be outside it. That's different. And plus 3. There's my function. Now I'm going to check some points. Seems like since this is my neighborhood here of my x's, that it would be important. I'm going to try picking 0 for x. Is it good if it crashes? Well, kind of actually. Because do you get that when it crashes, you found the asymptote? So 0 crashed it, so it gives me the asymptote. And that's a good reminder to put the asymptote in your graph. So there, I'm putting the asymptote in my graph. And by the way, remember this thing all moved up 3? That means the other asymptote moved up 3 with it and would be right there. Okay, and now I'm supposed to get some points. I still don't even have a point. I got an asymptote. So let me find a point. Let's say I put in positive 1. Then that's going to be negative 1/2 plus 3. That would be positive 2.5. 1 gave me positive 2.5. It's not a. It's okay to have decimals. It's not illegal. I was hoping that I would get something that would be a whole number, but it wasn't. And that's okay. I could try something else. Did anybody figure out something that would give me a whole number? Putting in x is what? What could I put right there? That'll give me a whole number answer. 1/2 think it has to be 1/2. If I put in 1/2 right here, then 2 times 1/2 would give me 1, and then I got 1 over 1, which makes 1. And then I have a negative in front, which makes -1, and -1 plus 3 is 2. 1/2 gave me 2. Whew, that was heavy duty. 1/2 gave me 2. It's like right there. Now, I should get 1 that's in this side of it. So maybe I should try like -1 or something. Put in -1. If I put in a -1 here, it's 2 times x, so it would be 2 times -1. That'll be -2. And then it's negative of 1 over 2, and there's 2 negatives make it positive 1/2, and so that's 3 plus 1/2 is 3.5. So -1 gave me 3.5. I got enough points. Mr. Server only told me I had to have 2 on this kind, so there. Good. That was about as hard as they possibly could get because it's the butterfly function, and it was stretched. Whew! That's like almost R4 level. It's so difficult. All right. Now I'm going to give you a nice softball, nice easy one. Okay? I want you to all graph this and hopefully feel really good about it. Graph that and give me some points on it. I'll pause for a second while I give that one a try. Okay, first my suggestion is make the parent function. Say, oh yeah, square roots go like this. And then I want to do the inside first, which is, what does a plus 2 do again? Left, 2, boom. And then I need that 3 in front. That's a vertical stretch. So it's got to stretch up. That means its height's got to get 3 times bigger. This spot right here is over 1, up 1. That's a key spot to kind of know. And if I say instead I want it 3 times higher, then it's going to be like way up there. So it stretches like that. There. That's kind of where it is. Do I even have to draw it perfectly? Nope, because I'm going to use the XY chart. And on the XY chart, I got to pick some numbers, but I got to pick wisely. Pick numbers that work nice. Do you get if I put in a 0, it's not going to work really nice? What would work really nice? 2 would work really nice. If I put in a 2, I get 2 plus 2 is 4, square root of 4 is 2, 3 times 2 is 6, 2 comma 6. Does it look to you like if I go over 2, it possibly is up 6? Yeah, that looks possible. Okay, that's 1. Also, where am I? I'm kind of in this zone here, so shouldn't I be using some little negative numbers? Mr. HS, what would you put in for x? Okay, I'm going to put in -2, because that'll make it 0. And then square root of 0 is 0, and then 3 times 0 is 0. -2 comma 0. -2, look at that, it's right there. I have 2 solid points. Is that enough? No, you got to have 5. But at least I know kind of where they are. I got it dialed in now. Now I'm going to try -1. Put in a -1 here. It's going to be square root of 1, which is 1. 3 times 1 is 3. -1, 3. There it is. All right, now maybe I should take one more number that's a little bigger. Let's see, what if I put in 7? If I put in a 7, why did I pick that? Because then it's the square root of 9. Square root of 9 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 7 comma 9. 7 comma, I can believe that 9 would be on that. Now this might be one of those ones where I can only get 4 points out of it. In which case, you don't have to do another. If they won't fit on the graph, then you don't have to make more. I'm a reasonable person. But we did try to check the graphs to make sure that you could get like 4 or 5. We didn't want you to have any that only had 2. Except for the butterfly one, I'm okay with just 2 distinct points on the butterfly one. All right. Do you have any requests for types of questions you want to see done? Because I can, you know, this is your review time, and if you know you're kind of sucky at this kind or that kind, I can do whatever kind you want. We've mostly done stretches. Do you want to do a shrink? Do you want to do, what do you want to do? Yes? Yes. All right. Let's do the butterfly one, except I'm going to shrink it a little bit. Do you get, I did a vertical shrink on this thing. Don't worry too much about exactly what it should look like. You're going to figure it out from the points that you make. That's your stretch factor. Then it's a butterfly that's been moved. Take your best shot at kind of what it looks like. Just sketch, and then find me a couple of good points that are for sure on it. Oh, and the butterfly has to have the asymptotes in it. This is the only one that has asymptotes. So if you think the asymptotes like run this way and this way, make sure you include them wherever it is. Pause, we try that. Okay, I want to show you what I think you should start with. And asymptotes, I'm going to make them professionally with this, that, and that. Those are my asymptotes. Okay. Now, where does this thing, or what happens to this thing? Well, you could argue that there's nothing happening on the inside, because this is the inside of the function. Now, you could also argue that there is, if you multiply it in, you'd get 1 over 2x plus 3, and then something is happening on the inside? It doesn't matter. Either one's the right answer. It's weird, but it could be on the outside or the inside. Do you get if it's on the outside, it's a 1/2, but if it's on the inside, it's a 2? And so that actually works out that either one of them will give you the right answer. Either one is fine. Okay, so I'm going to choose to think of it as that 1/2 is on the outside. Like that. And that means it's going to be half as tall. But that means this point right here just go a little lower. And this point will be lower, 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 lower. But they're like half what they were, but they're not like super shrunk. So the dotted line red there is a new one, and it's pretty close to the old one. And then it has to move up 3. That's going to move the asymptote lines up 3. So I'm going to see if I can grab that asymptote line. There we go. Asymptote moves up 3. Graph moves up 3. It's not the green one anymore. That was the parent one. This red graph moves up. Good enough. And there we go. And I think it's that dotted red line. How can I be sure? XY chart. Put some points on it. Yep. So I make an XY chart. And I see how close I was. It's handy to put a 0 on the bottom because it gives you the what? Asymptote. So if I put in x is 0, I get the asymptote. And there we go. It's right on 0. I guess I could budge it over just a smidge. There we go. Okay. And then it looks to me like I should put in numbers that are in this neighborhood on the x. So I'm going to say probably like -1 and etc. So what if I put in -1? If I put in -1 there, I get 1/2 times -1, which makes -1/2. -1/2 plus 3 makes 2.5. -1 gave me 2.5. All right, so -1 give me 2.5. That's probably like right there. And I could try another one. Maybe I should go to positive number that I'm putting in. If I put in +1, see what I get then. If that's +1, then this is 1/2 plus 3 is 3.5. 1 comma 3.5. There we go. I got a couple points on it. Do I have to have all of them? No, but if I graph, let's say it was lost and I wasn't sure which way this graph was going, I'd graph a bunch more points and probably get that and that and that, maybe one of those, maybe one here, maybe one there, and pretty soon I realized, oh, it's there. And finding the asymptote is pretty handy. So find out what makes the thing crash. All right. That was a tough one. All right, here's another easier one, I think. If you have this little hat, and I told you that I wanted you to take f of x and do this to it, would you draw me what you think it looks like now? I'll pause for a second. Let me try that. Now, I know there's some people that do this with a point method, and I'm totally okay with that. So I'm going to show you what the points would be. So if you want to do it that way, you could. And those points would be negative 2 comma 1 for this. That one's 0 comma 3 right there. And this point would be at 1 comma 1 right here. And last but not least, that's going to be at 3 comma 1 right there. So if I made a list of my points that I had to start with, it was negative 2 comma 1, 0 comma 3, 1 comma 1, and 3 comma 1. Okay, so what is this thing telling me to do? That negative on the outside, because there's nothing to do on the inside. I got to go to the outside. The negative on the front of it, that's telling me to do a vertical reflect. Did you know that that made this hat look like, it's hard to do these, isn't it? Do you get that the hat looks like that after you vertically reflect it? Okay. And then I got to move it down 5. So it's sort of down there. Now again, if it was just a sketch and I hadn't told you the points, you could just say, oh, that's kind of what it should look like. How many of yours kind of looks like that? Okay, good. Now, if you want the exact points thing, here's what you do. Do you get that this negative is acting on the outside and therefore it's a vertical, therefore it's a y thing? The stuff on the outside is a y thing. I should take all my numbers and multiply them all by a negative 1 because that's what that is in front. So that makes it negative, 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 and negative. And then I got to subtract 5. If you're thinking opposites, like that's what you do if it was on the inside. You wouldn't trust it. But I said on the outside, I can trust it. I'm going to take negative 1 and minus 5, negative 3 and minus 5, and minus 5 and minus 5, and I get negative 6, negative 8, negative 6 again, and negative 6. So my new points, the x didn't change at all because there was nothing to do on the inside. So my new points are this comma this. Where's negative 2? Negative 6. Which looks like it's probably there. And 0 comma negative 8. 0 comma negative 8. Hey, it's working. And then 1 comma negative 6. 1 comma negative 6 is there. And 3 comma negative 6. 3 comma negative 6 is like right there. Cool. I got points too. All right. That's most of the kinds of things that you need to know. Now, I'm willing to do, you guys just have to ask, any other types of questions that you want to go over right now, because I have also a little bit of time tomorrow. Tomorrow is a full-length period, and during that, we do a 20-minute top 20. Okay, so that's going to take out about half our hour, but the other half of the hour, I got for doing more review. So if you realize tonight, hey, I'm going to get in to do one of these problems tomorrow, because this is like the kind that I keep struggling with. Cool. Just come with some ideas of what you want done. I can always do ones if you don't have suggestions. But okay, then top 20 is tomorrow. Next day, test on this stuff. What could you do to practice? Well, tonight's homework is a Schoology quiz, and don't forget, I told you already, the question number 1 has something goofed up in it such that I don't think you can do the order right because you can't start on the inside. And that's okay. Don't stress that you think you're doing it wrong because of that. I warned you. Question 1 will be a little wobbly. Okay. That's all I got for you for today.